Caution, we are about to enter the no facts zone. Bill O'Reilly did his usual talking points memos, and obviously Bill wasn't all that impressed with President Obama's comments at the funeral yesterday. And then on top of that, he interviews Donald Trump, and surprisingly, he didn't get the answers that he was looking for with the leading questions that he posed. Now, he lucked up at the end because Trump did know his position on the Black Lives Matter group, so at least he got a little backup from Trump on that, but he got very little backup, surprisingly, from Trump. Let's go.
Caution. You are about to enter the no spin zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. President Obama and race. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Today in Dallas, Mr. Obama addressed the world trying to calm racial tension in the USA.
Scripture tells us that in our sufferings, there is glory. Because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. And character, hope.
All of that is true, but it's also rhetorical. And while the president is trying to lift spirits, we do need some targeted programs in America to tamp down racial animosity. The president hit a high note and a dubious note. First, the good.
But we're going to have to be honest with each other and ourselves. We know that the overwhelming majority of police officers do an incredibly hard and dangerous job fairly and professionally. They are deserving of our respect and not our scorn.
Very well put by the president. But then Mr. Obama veered away from the present and into the land of grievance.
We also know that centuries of racial discrimination, of slavery and subjugation, and Jim Crow, they didn't simply vanish with the end of lawful segregation. They didn't just stop when Dr. King made a speech or the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act were signed.
The president went on to say that race relations have, quote, improved dramatically in my lifetime. However, raising the specter of slavery and Jim Crow gives the haters an excuse. And
No, it doesn't give them an excuse, Bill, because they don't need an excuse because slavery is a fact. The Jim Crow laws were a fact. So basically, acknowledging facts in your opinion is a bad thing. But it was fine for him to laud the good works of the police officers and to give them a pat on the back. So you want it one way, but you can't handle an even playing field. Well, I don't know why I'm surprised, that's how you operate.
Fuels the grievance industry. If we are ever to become one nation under God, we'll have to put the grievances behind us.
Yeah, Bill, and we're more than happy to do that if we would then be able to operate on a level playing field. Unfortunately, the playing field is not level. And I will say this, ask the Jews to put their grievances behind them. Ask them to stop saying never forget. Ask them to forget about the Holocaust. Do that first, before you ask black people to forget about slavery and discrimination and Jim Crow, prior to the 1960s and 70s. Do that first and see the response that you get when you do that. And if you get the response that you claim you should be able to get, then I will be more than happy to listen to you ask me to forget about slavery and Jim Crow. But something tells me you're not going to go to the Jews and ask them to forget about the Holocaust. You're not going to go to the Jews and tell them to stop saying never forget. So what you just said is a bunch of bullshit. We will forget our grievances when others forget theirs, and not before.
And not use them as an excuse for current bad behavior. That means acceptance of past sins and a determination to never let mass discrimination happen again.
Yeah, right.
To some extent, the president understands that, but he's not powerful enough in stating it. Instead, he dwells on the problem rather than on the solution.
But America, we know that bias remains. We know it. Whether you are black or white or Hispanic or Asian or Native American or of Middle Eastern descent, we have all seen this bigotry in our own lives at some point.
And white people have been the subject of bigotry as well.
Yeah, but not by black people, Bill. If white people may have been the subject of bigotry, but not necessarily in this country. And if they were, they're not subject to it now. But we're the only ones that have been subject to bigotry for the past 400 plus years. So we got a pretty good roll going right now. And I challenge you to tell me who in this country, other than Native Americans, have suffered the treatment that we have. And even they weren't made slaves.
Truth is, bias will always be with us. Every country has it. From the dawn of mankind, unfair treatment has occurred on this planet. Americans should all be in this together.
Yeah, we love to be in it together, but you guys discriminate against us so we can't get in it together. Jesus.
What we really need is a federal government to create laws that are fair to everyone and make sure they are enforced without prejudice. That's not going to be easy, but it is possible.
No, Bill, it's not possible. You can't legislate people's hearts and minds. You may put laws on the books, but it's up to individuals to change the way that they think and the way that they feel. And apparently, you don't understand that.
And that's enough. Now for the top story tonight. How would Donald Trump deal with the racial divide in America? I spoke with him earlier today in Chicago. So first question for you, do you believe there's a problem between black and whites in America, generally speaking?
Sadly, there would seem to be, and it's getting more and more obvious, and it's very sad. It's very sad when somebody called for a moment of silence for this maniac that shot the 5 police, and
Okay, that's Donald's first lie. Nobody called for a moment of silence for Micah Johnson. They have been searching everywhere trying to find this. So if you actually did see somebody calling for a moment of silence for Micah Johnson, you need to let us know where you saw it, because it seems to me it's probably in the same place that you saw those thousands of Muslims cheering when the World Trade Center went down, and nobody could find that either.
see what's going on, and it's a very, very sad situation, and hopefully it can be healed. We have a divider as a president. He's the great divider, and I've said it for a long time, and it's probably not been much worse at any time. So it's a very sad situation, actually.
All right. So if you're elected president, do you have a plan to lessen racial tensions? And if so, what is it?
Well, one thing is spirit. I mean, we don't have spirit. The country doesn't have any spirit, Bill. And, you know, we can say, oh, gee, well, that's just a general statement. But it's not a general statement. I mean, the country has no spirit. We need a cheerleader, not a divider. We have a divider. We need a cheerleader.
There is still
Okay, number one, that's no plan. And number two, a cheerleader just cheers, he doesn't do anything. Okay, so we need a plan. Let's try this again.
some black Americans who believe that the system is biased against them, the American system, because they're black, they don't get the same kind of shot, they don't get the same kind of fairness that whites do. What do you say to that?
Well, I've been saying even against me, the system is rigged. When I ran as a, for president, I mean, I could see what was going on with the system, and the system is rigged.
Yeah, but that's not going to lift anybody's spirits.
We have to fight.
If you say to black Americans the system's rigged, that's not going to lift their spirits.
Okay, Bill wasn't expecting that answer. That's the first one he wasn't expecting.
No, what I'm saying is they're not necessarily wrong. I mean, there are certain people where, unfortunately, that comes into play, and I'm not saying that. I can relate it really very much to myself.
Okay, that's the second response that he wasn't expecting.
To refocus you, though, on the African-American experience, all right? Do you think you understand the African-American experience? Do you think you understand it?
Well, I'd like to say yes, but you really can't unless you're African American. You can't truly understand what's going on unless you're African American.
All right,
I would like to say
if that's
yes,
true, and I
however.
agree with you, then how do you persuade African Americans who believe America is a bad place built upon grievances in the past to put that aside and lift their spirits? How are you going to do that?
Okay, number one, we don't believe that America is a bad place. We just believe that there are some bad people within America that are biased against us and use whatever power that they have, i.e. white privilege, to get over on us. So again, we don't believe America is a bad place, just that there are some bad people within America, Bill.
Because I do understand what goes on in life, and I do understand that the economics of our country are not the same, that people are making less money today in real wages than they made 18 years ago, that our jobs are leaving the country, that our educational system stinks. It's absolutely horrible, our educational system, and they're not part of that educational system to a large extent. So I fully understand.
You're going to go with an economic-based program to try to get more assets to African Americans. Okay. What about the police? Now, when you see something that happened in Louisiana, what happened in Minnesota, where black are killed by police, and there's videotape and this kind of thing, what goes through your mind?
I thought they were terrible. I thought it was a terrible, disgusting performance that I saw. Now, whether that's training, whether that's they choked, or they got scared or nervous. I mean, the one man who was being stepped on and then shot in particular, I looked at that, I said, wow, that's bad, that's bad. The other one in the car, really bad, but I guess they could say he was going for his license or identification and maybe thought it was a gun, but it was bad. Both of them were very, very sad. So maybe that's lack of training. Maybe it's bad people. I don't know. It's such a sad thing to see those two sides.
That was another answer that O'Reilly wasn't expecting. And that's as close as Trump's going to come to criticizing the police. So you saw it here. If you didn't see the original show, you saw it here first.
No question about it.
Is there anything
and then
President...
you have to go a step further.
Go ahead.
A step further, when you saw the policeman shot, I mean, how bad was that? And we can't allow that to happen.
It's domestic terrorism, sure.
We can't allow any of it to happen.
But as far as the police are concerned, you say, okay, these two individual things are bad. But are they symptomatic, in your opinion, of a larger problem with American police? That they fear blacks or that they act differently around African Americans? Do you believe that's in play?
Here comes another answer that Bill wasn't expecting.
Look, it could be. You have to see it. I mean, there are so many individual cases. There are certain cases where this takes place, and it's horrible. I mean, somebody will meet, they'll have a commission meet, and the commission may have an answer, but I almost don't care what the commission says, because I see it with my eyes. I hate what I saw, those two instances. I hate what I saw when somebody guns down all of these policemen and kills 5 policemen. I hate it.
Do you believe that there is a problem in American policing whereby blacks are treated differently than whites? Do you believe that?
It could be.
Is
Another answer that Bill wasn't expecting.
it possible? As
could be.
president, is
You
there
understand
anything
it?
you can do
It
about
could be.
that?
I think it's training. It's training of the police. And by the way, I'd have to say, I think the police, 99.9%, I mean, I think the police do an incredible job in this country. And, you know, the problem with 2 instances like this, which I think were terrible, but they get broadcast on television,
Sure.
and they
But there
don't
have been
show all of the
others.
good work that the police does. There are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of cases where the police do phenomenal work. I'm a big fan of the police of this country.
Okay.
Okay, we know that Donald Trump is a big fan of police, but Donald, it's not that these 2 instances overshadow the good work that all of the police do. The problem is that these 2 officers are not going to be held accountable. If police were held accountable when they do, dirt, people would have a lot more confidence in the police. And that's what you and Mr. O'Reilly are both missing.
Black Lives Matter. I have said it's a
Oh, here we go. Black Lives Matter. Bill had to get that in. And I know that Donald watches Bill's show, so he knows his position on Black Lives Matter, so he knows the answer that he's looking for.
hate group built upon an opinion by their leadership of white supremacy, keeping blacks down. How do you define Black Lives Matter?
Well, first of all, I think the term is very divisive. The first time I heard it, I said, you have to be kidding. It can't be used that. They just can't. I think it's a very, very, very divisive term. There's no question about it. I've heard what you've had to say.
Yeah, and that's why you think that it's a divisive term, because you've heard what Bill has to say.
I think it's a very divisive term.
The group itself, are they helping America or hurting America?
Well, I would say they're dividing America. I think that, statements that I've seen, I saw what they said about the police in various marches and rallies. I've seen, moments of silence called for this horrible human being who shot the policeman.
Okay, that's the second time he's told that same lie. There's been no moment of silence by Black Lives Matter for Micah Johnson. So if you have backup on that one, you damn sure need to supply it to us, because I damn sure haven't seen it. And the people that I talk to haven't seen it. And PolitiFact, who checks facts, they can't find it.
And I've seen it, and I think it's very divisive, and I think they're hurting themselves.
Finally, you said President Obama is a divider. Do you believe he does that on purpose? Do you believe that the president says, I want to divide the nation, I want to have strife between the races?
I don't know, Bill. I really don't know what his reasoning is, but I can tell you that I'm...
See, that's Donald Trump. If he was anywhere near a decent person, rather than being a racist prick that he is, he would have said no. And again, that's not even being politically correct, because nobody in their right mind wants to generate racial strife. And obviously, Obama's in his right mind. So the fast answer on that was no, and just call it a day. He couldn't do it. He's got a hedge.
Sitting in Chicago, where we've had almost 5,000 killings, deaths from the time he became president, and you don't hear too much about it. And you see what's going on now, and and by the way, getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know. I can't speak for the president. I wouldn't want to speak for the president. I'm sure he wouldn't want me to speak for him. But things are not going well, and I think they're going to be getting worse before they get better.
All right, we'll have more with Donald Trump.
All right, so there's Bill O'Reilly at it again. He had to get his dig in on Black Lives Matter, which, full of crap. Trump knows his position. He watches his show. So that part was easy. But the other answers that Trump gave, I guarantee you, for the most part, he wasn't expecting those answers.